Welcome back to Mosaic. In Black History Month, you might wonder, why was February chosen? Dr. Carter Woodson chose February because February 12th is Abraham Lincoln's birthday, the great emancipator. But February 14th is also Frederick Douglass's birthday, the great abolitionist. So he thought that was important, both days of their birthday. But we've come to find out that the NAACP was founded in February by W.E.B. Du Bois. Some other significant, Paul Card made reference to the registration to vote. Given the right to vote was also in February for African Americans. And some other very significant days. The sit-ins back in the 60s began in February. It's about 5 or 6 significant days in February is why we celebrate. It's not because it's the shortest month of the year, some people have said that, but because of those significant days. Tell us a little bit more about Black history, Paul.
Yes. Frederick Douglass is probably the dean of modern-day Black history because he was the equivalent of Oprah Winfrey in his day. He visited, he collaborated with Abraham Lincoln. He was the guest speaker for a lot of movements, especially women's suffrage.
That's right.
He was the one who was used to try to bail out the Freedmen's Bank when Congress messed it up. So Frederick Douglass was an inspirational and a spiritual as well as a great oratorical leader for African Americans during his time in the 1860s and 1870s.
Excellent, excellent. Now, we alluded to some of the, Dr. King. What are some of the other African American ministers who had a tremendous impact? I think of Marcus Garvey. He had a different kind of emphasis, but he was definitely a spiritual leader. Father Divine
Actually, Marcus Garvey had a Christian-based movement. It was called the United Negro Improvement Association,
right.
And they actually used the Bible as a part of their services and practice. In a sense, if we wanted to understand the historicity of Marcus Garvey, he was one of the first Black Lives Matter advocates. In fact, he took it so far as to coin the phrase "back to Africa," back to understanding your roots, back to economic development. And I think you're going to see the Black Lives Matter movement today morph into a neo-Garveyistic kind of black economic activity matters. Black jobs matter. Black housing, affordable housing matter. Black access to capital matters. Those groups are already forming, and some of them have been contacting us, and we're writing articles about it. So I think the cycle and the impact of the spiritual contribution of every major Black leader has had a connection in spirituality as a part of the style and political approach, whether it is Frederick Douglass, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and so forth. Even Muhammad Ali, in terms of his public aspirations and psychological presentation, he referred to God and he called on the Spirit. And so the Martin Luther King legacy is going to be the template for Black history forever, in terms of, because of its emphasis on the dignity of man, the respect for others, the inclusion of other races, which the Bible teaches and taught him, and which he taught all of us. That is the success formula. That's the winning template for how we and all other movements. That is the mosaic.
During the break, you had made reference to the fact that you were amazed as somewhat that Canada also and Britain also celebrates Black history.
I look forward to hoping that CBS or somebody will reach out to our Canadian counterparts, because I know some people in Canada and I know some publications there, as well as England, so we can have a dialogue during Black History Month to talk about the similarities of how we worship, because I think there's some stories here in America that should be exported and taught around the world. well, and more specifically, what happened at Charleston, at the AME Church in Charleston.
That's right.
That is Black history personified. That's what happened. That's the influence of King. That's the influence of Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Howard Thurman, and
great people. Why do you say that?
Because they had the spirit of exercising and extending Christian love. Did you see how they forgave the individual? Did you see how they conducted themselves? They reacted nonviolent. They reacted as Jesus would have reacted. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And that lesson, combined with the symbolism of Black faith-based institution, their response to violence, is a lesson that should be exported by our political leaders, by our State Department, by our international media, and Mosaic can leave that imprint.
You mentioned Howard Thurman.
Yes.
What is that famous saying of his about?
What did Jesus say to the man whose back is against the wall in his book on the
Jesus and the
Disinherited?
That's right.
Yes. And what would Jesus say today to the man whose back is against the wall?
And forgiveness, and love, and justice.
Yes.
And protest.
Yes.
And commitment, and compassion, and all of that. The example set by Jesus.
That's right.
And I think that example you gave in South Carolina is a powerful example. We have just a few seconds left. Anything, final word to say to us?
Well, I'm looking forward to us having a dialogue with all the organizations and the ethnic groups in America. We need to reach out to them and ask them to reach out to their countries of origin to take the positive lessons of Black History Month and struggle and resourcefulness and how they handle difficult times, and use that as an exported product of American democracy.
Thank you, Paul. That's excellent.
Thank you.
Blessings to you. And thank you for joining us. We have a last segment with an emphasis on Valentine's, and Dr. Hugh Barrows will be with us.